You guys, I need you to lock in right now, because what I am about to walk you through is the kind of story that does not happen twice in a decade. Allegedly, Kanye West, the man the world has been calling Ye, just walked into a private room, sat down across from Kim Kardashian, looked her dead in the face, and shut the entire operation down. Not loud. Not chaotic. Not on social media. Not in a tweet storm at 3 in the morning. Calm. Surgical. Cold-blooded calm. And by the time he stood up and walked out, the rules around those children, every single one of them, had been rewritten from the floor up. Now before we go a single inch deeper, I need to put a flag in the ground. A lot of what I am about to share with you is allegedly. Some pieces have been quietly confirmed. Some pieces have not. So I am going to ask you to hold every claim with a careful hand, the way you would hold something fragile. Because in a story like this, one detail in the wrong direction can flip the entire meaning. But honey, the parts that have been validated, they are heavy. They are very heavy. And once you hear how this room went down, you are not going to be able to unhear it. Let me set the stage for you, because the stage matters. Just a few short months ago, Kim Kardashian quietly let the world in on a piece of news that most people scrolled past without realizing what they were really looking at. She told us that North, her oldest daughter, had stepped away from traditional school. Not a small adjustment. Not a tutor on the side. A full pivot. North was being homeschooled, and the homeschooling was being designed around her creative engine. Music. Production. Songwriting. Performance. Studio time. Both Ye and Kim, allegedly, signed off on it. Both of them, allegedly, agreed to facilitate it. And on paper, on the surface, in the polite version, it sounded beautiful. A little girl with a giant imagination being given the runway to fly. But anyone who has spent 5 minutes watching how this industry actually operates knows that giving a child a runway is not the same thing as protecting them on it. And that, you guys, is exactly where the cracks started to show. Because here is what is being whispered behind closed doors. It is alleged that things, slowly, quietly, started to drift. Not all at once. Not in a single incident. A little here. A little there. A door that should have been closed, left ajar. A boundary that should have been firm, left soft. And it is alleged that Ye, watching from the side, kept waiting. Waiting for Kim to notice. Waiting for Kim to step in. Waiting for Kim to draw the line that he expected her to draw. And it is said, allegedly, that Kim was not even seeing it. Not because she did not care. Not because she was negligent. But because she was so deep in the daily machinery of her own life that the small drift was invisible to her in real time. So Ye, allegedly, did something that almost nobody outside of his inner circle thought he was capable of right now. He did not tweet. He did not rant. He did not post. He requested a meeting. A real meeting. Adult to adult. Parent to parent. And when he walked into that room, allegedly, his voice was even, his tone was steady, and his hands were not shaking. He was, by every account being shared, kind about it. He was calm about it. And he shut it down. Now you are probably already asking the same question I asked the first time I heard this story. What was the trigger? What was the specific moment that made Ye pick up the phone, allegedly, and say enough is enough? And this is where the story sharpens into a blade. It is alleged that the moment that lit the fuse was a recent appearance where North found herself on a stage, in front of an audience, in a skirt that, by her father's standard, was simply too short. And before anyone in the comments rushes to misread what I am about to say, let me be extremely clear with you. North is a child. North should never, in any reading, be sexualized in any direction by anyone, including the internet. That is not the conversation. The conversation is about the standard her father, allegedly, holds inside his own home, on his own watch, for his own daughter. And by his standard, allegedly, the skirt was too small, the cut was too high, and the way she had to keep tugging at it across the performance was not the energy he wanted attached to his little girl in front of a camera lens. So a new rule, allegedly, has been laid down. If the skirt is going to be that short, then the layer underneath it has to be heavy, opaque, and protective. Real stockings. Real coverage. No improvisation. No last-minute swap. No staff members shrugging and letting it slide because the car is already outside. And this is the part that, honestly, I want you to sit with for a second. Because what Yi, allegedly, is asking for is not extreme. It is not unreasonable. It is the kind of guardrail that any father who actually understands the entertainment business would want welded into place around his daughter. And the fact that he had to walk into a room and personally install that guardrail, allegedly, instead of it already existing, is the part that tells you everything about how the temperature in that household had shifted. Now let me take you inside the meeting, because the meeting itself is the centerpiece of this entire story. It is alleged that Yi did not just sit down with Kim. He requested everyone. The nanny. The bodyguard. And here is the part that is going to genuinely surprise some of you. There is, allegedly, a kind of sub-manager assigned to North. A handler. A chaperone with a specific job description. Somebody whose entire role is to travel with her to these events and quietly steer her through them in real time. So even on the nights when North looks like she is out there alone, vibing in a crowd, posting a clip, walking near a stage, she is, allegedly, never actually alone. There is at least the bodyguard. And there is, allegedly, this sub-manager standing 2 steps off her shoulder, reading the room. And what does that sub-manager actually do? Allegedly, in a moment, in real time, that person can lean over and say, "No, sweetheart, not this artist. Too risky. Too messy. Too controversial. We pass on this one. You can stay in the audience. You can enjoy the night. You can vibe. But you are not stepping on that stage with that one." And the second you understand that role, you understand why it might be the single most important position on her entire team. Because, you guys, let us be honest with one another for a second. The industry that surrounds these children is not playing. Some of these artists, some of these producers, some of these so-called friends of the family, they are not approaching North as a child to be celebrated. Allegedly, in some cases, they are approaching her as a marketing opportunity dressed up in a hug. And the truly chilling part is that this kind of opportunism almost never looks like opportunism while it is happening. It looks like love. It looks like, oh my goodness, look at this artist showing North so much affection. Look at how proud they are of her. Look at how much they support her. Isn't it adorable? And meanwhile, behind that warm public moment, the math being run in the background, allegedly, can be cold and transactional. Yi, by his own life, by his own scars, by the rooms he has been in and the deals he has signed, knows that math. Kim, by her own decades inside this engine, knows that math too. And neither one of them, allegedly, is willing to let their daughter be a line item in someone else's strategy. So Yi, allegedly, demanded the meeting. All of them. In one room. At one table. At the same time. And he laid out the rules with the kind of clarity that does not leave room for misinterpretation. There is, allegedly, no more case-by-case improvisation. There is now a framework. A document. A standard. A protocol. And every single person on that staff is now operating inside that protocol, or they are not operating with this child at all. But here is where the story gets even bigger, because the meeting was not just about North. It is alleged that Yi took the conversation deeper, into territory that, frankly, a lot of co-parenting relationships never even reach. Allegedly, Yi made it crystal clear to Kim that any romantic partner she brings into the orbit of those children has to clear a very specific bar. If, in her own gut, she has even the smallest doubt that the relationship is built to last, then that man, allegedly, does not get to be around his kids. Period. Not part-time. Not casually. Not on a movie night. Not on a holiday. If she suspects, even faintly, that this is a season and not a chapter, the door stays closed. And honey, that line right there, that single line, is one of the most surgical co-parenting boundaries I have ever heard a celebrity father, allegedly, draw in real life. And then, allegedly, he went one layer deeper. About the boys. About Saint. About Psalm. He said, allegedly, that he wants his sons to be raised as boys, talked to as boys, dressed as boys, treated as boys, and consistently, daily, reminded that they are boys. He said, allegedly, that even if one day in the far future they decide to walk a different road and live a different life as grown men, that is a road they have to walk on their own legs as adults. Until then, in his house, on his watch, in his name, they are boys, and they are going to be raised inside the language, the discipline, the structure, and the cultural shaping of boys. He is, allegedly, not joking. He is, allegedly, not negotiating. He is, allegedly, not floating it as a suggestion to be debated next week. He is laying it down like concrete and walking away. Now this is the part where the entire internet expected fireworks. The entire internet expected Kim to recoil. The entire internet expected lawyers, leaks, and a public meltdown. And it is alleged that exactly the opposite happened. It is alleged that Kim was not offended. Not lightly. Not faintly. Not behind closed doors. It is alleged that, in fact, Kim is genuinely relieved. Genuinely energized. Genuinely on board. Because for the first time in what feels like a very long stretch of years, Ye, allegedly, is showing up not as a headline, not as a crash out, not as a tweet at 4 a.m, not as a man pulling the family into a public fire. He is showing up as a father. In a room. At a table. With a plan. Asking the staff direct questions. Setting direct expectations. Going home. And allegedly she loves it. She loves the version of him sitting across the table. She loves the version of him asking, instead of announcing. She loves the version of him calling a meeting, instead of calling a press conference. And she is, allegedly, agreeing with him at 110%. So as it stands today, allegedly, the co-parenting machine between Kim and Ye is, for the first time in a long time, actually running. He is listening. She is listening. The staff is listening. The protocols are being written. The boundaries are being honored. The kids, allegedly, are inside a tighter, safer, more thoughtful structure than they have been inside in months. And if even half of what is being whispered in this story is accurate, this is, I am telling you, a turning point. A real one. Not a press release turning point. A real one. Now, before anyone rolls their eyes and says, oh, here we go, another redemption arc for Ye, I want to remind you of something, because context matters. This, allegedly, has always been Ye on his clear days. On his light days. On the days when the storm is not pulling at him. We have seen this version of him before. Some of you have been with me long enough to remember when Kim, on camera, told the story about bringing in a male nanny for the boys. And do you remember the details she shared? She said Ye, allegedly, walked over and corrected the way the nanny was handing the toddler a ball. He said, no, do not place the ball into his hand like that. Let him reach for it. Let him pick it up. Let him work for it. Let him learn that he is capable of getting it himself. Let him understand in his little body that he is a boy and he can do the lift. Hand him the ball this way, not that way. That, you guys, is not the moment of a man checked out. That is the moment of a man who is paying attention to a level most fathers never even reach. That is parenting at the molecular level. So when Ye, allegedly, walks into a meeting and lays down a brand new framework, this is not a stranger arriving at the table. This is, allegedly, the same instinct he was already showing years ago. He is teaching independence. He is teaching reach. He is teaching grit. He is, allegedly, building men inside little bodies. And let me say it plainly, because I know somebody in the comments needs to hear it. Boys do not need to be raised harshly. Boys do not need to be raised cruelly. Boys do not need to be roughed up to be made into men. But boys do need to be raised intentionally. They do need to be cultured. They do need to be taught that the world will read their bodies, their voices, and their presence differently than it reads their sisters, and they need to be prepared for that with love, with structure, and with truth. So if he, allegedly, is rebuilding himself into an active, hands-on, boundary-setting, room-walking father, kudos to him. Honestly. Kudos. And it gets richer. Because it is also alleged that he has, quietly, been showing up to his children's events, recitals, performances, school moments, practices, birthdays inside friend circles. The kind of small, ordinary moments that paparazzi do not chase, because nobody tipped them off. And that is the part one want to highlight. Allegedly, he is going out of his way to make sure those events are not publicized. He does not want a cameraman. He does not want a flashbulb. He does not want a reporter ambushing his kids in a school hallway. He just wants to be there. Quiet. Present. In the back row. On the side of the gym. In the parking lot waiting. Because, allegedly, he is finally clocking that his children are old enough now to remember the texture of their own childhood, and he does not want their memory of him to be the man who turned every family moment into a tabloid scene. He wants their memory of him to be the man who simply showed up. And here is where I want to gently correct the internet, because the internet has been a little lazy about this part. People keep saying that Kim is failing the kids while she is out with Lewis Hamilton. People keep saying that Kim is missing in action. People keep saying that Kim has handed the children over to staff and walked away. And I want to push back on that, hard, with my whole chest. Because here is the part nobody wants to give Kim credit for. While he, allegedly, was for a long stretch out in Europe, out in Tokyo, out in Paris, traveling, performing, in his own season, with Bianca, the woman holding the entire fort down at home, the one keeping the schedule, the school routes, the doctor appointments, the homework, the security detail, the nutrition, the bedtime, the birthdays, the everyday, was Kim. She has been the operational backbone of those children for a long time, while a lot of the public was watching the more dramatic storyline play out in another time zone. And do you know what? She is allowed, as a single mother of multiple children, to also have a life. She is allowed to laugh. She is allowed to sit courtside. She is allowed to be photographed next to a Formula One driver. She is allowed to wear a fit. She is allowed to be a woman, in addition to being a mother. The internet keeps acting like the moment a woman has children, she is supposed to disappear into a cardigan, and never be seen smiling in public again. That is not how a healthy life works. That is not how a healthy parent works. That is not how a healthy woman works. So, can we please give Kim a little room to breathe? She has earned it. Now, I do want to circle back to one thing he said in the past, because it bothered me when he said it, and it still bothers me now. There was a moment when he, in his own words, compared himself to Sean Diddy Combs and said that Diddy was, in his opinion, the better father between the two of them. And I have to be honest with you all, I felt my whole face fold up when I heard it. Because you cannot, in good conscience, hand that title to a man currently sitting inside the legal storm Diddy is sitting inside. Being physically present in a home does not, by itself, make a man a great father. Being financially present in a home does not, by itself, make a man a great father. The presence is the floor of fatherhood, not the ceiling. And we, as a culture, keep mixing up the floor with the ceiling, and it is hurting our kids. Let me say this very clearly, because I know somebody needs to hear it today. A man can live inside a home, sleep in the bed, eat at the table, pay every single bill on time, and still be a deadbeat father. Because if his children walk into a room and he is too busy, too cold, too distracted, too checked out, too irritated, too on his phone, too on the couch, too at the bar, too with his side situation, too anywhere but with them, he is absent. The check on the counter does not raise the child. The man at the table raises the child. And the man who is at the table only physically, but never emotionally, is still missing. He is still missing. And on the flip side, a father can live in a completely separate house, in a completely separate zip code, even in a completely separate state, and still be a more present, more active, more engaged father than the man down the street who never leaves his own driveway. He is the father standing at the school gate 10 minutes early so the child never has to wait. He is the father on the phone reading a bedtime story over a crackly line. He is the father at every recital, every game, every showcase, every parent meeting. He is the father whose hands the child knows by feel, even though he is not in the same hallway every night. So the deadbeat label, honey, is not a one-size-fits-all category. It is not a postal code. It is a posture. It is a posture toward the child. So when Yi, allegedly in his lower season, looked across the gap and said Diddy is the better father, I had to disagree with my entire chest. Diddy, on every available data point, is not out here making the daily, sober, disciplined choices a great father has to make. Diddy, on every available data point, is not out here choosing the long, boring, unsexy path of stability for the sake of his daughters. Diddy, on every available data point, is not out here modeling, in front of his sons, the kind of man you would want them to become. So no, Yi. Even on your darkest day, you do not hand that crown over to that man. Not on a glance. Not on a headline. Not on a vibe. Look at it analytically. Look at it across years. Look at it across choices. And the comparison falls apart immediately. Yi, on his clear days, is not out here in courtrooms over a hallway brawl. Yi, on his clear days, is not out here modeling a lifestyle he would be horrified to see his own children imitate. So we have to be careful with the comparisons we make in our lower seasons. They follow us. But back to Kim and Yi, because that is the heartbeat of this story. Allegedly, the two of them are, right now, in a stretch of co-parenting that is actually working. Not perfect. Not fairy tale. Not magazine cover. Working. He is showing up. She is opening the door. He is calling meetings. She is sitting in them. He is laying down rules. She is reinforcing them. He is showing up at recitals. She is making sure the recital exists in the first place. He is asking for protocols. She is implementing them. They are, allegedly, finally rowing in the same direction at the same time. And that, you guys, is something I do not say lightly, because I have watched them be on different oceans for years. And here is the line I want to leave with you, because I think it is the truest line in this entire story. Parenting is not a gift you are born with. Parenting is a skill you learn. It is learned. It is built. It is sharpened over years of failing, adjusting, apologizing, and trying again. Perfection in parenting does not exist. It has never existed. It will never exist. The bar is not perfection. The bar is direction. Are you, this year, a better parent than you were last year? Are you, this month, a calmer parent than you were last month? Are you, today, a more present parent than you were yesterday? If the answer is yes, you are doing the work. And if Kim and Yi, allegedly, are right now answering yes to those questions, then this is, genuinely, an admirable chapter for both of them. So kudos to the two. Kudos to the two. Now I want to take you back inside that meeting one more time, because I do not think we have fully sat with what it means. Picture the room. Picture the table. Picture the staff sitting around it, bracing themselves, expecting the storm. The nanny. The bodyguard. The sub-manager. Kim. And in walks Yi. Allegedly, no shouting. Allegedly, no posting. Allegedly, no recording. He sits down. He breathes. And he begins, point by point, to dismantle the parts of the operation that, in his judgment, were no longer protecting his daughter. The skirt rule. The chaperone rule. The artist filter. The publicity rule for the boys. The relationship clause for any future partner. The dress and culture protocol for his sons. One by one. Calm by calm. Clean by clean. And by the time he stands up and leaves, the household is, allegedly, running on a brand new operating system. That, you guys, is not a tantrum. That is leadership. That is, allegedly, fatherhood. That is, allegedly, a man finally walking into his role with both feet. And let me underline something, because I do not want this to be missed. The reason this matters so much is that Yi, in the last few years, has, by his own admission, been unwell. He has, by his own admission, been in seasons he is not proud of. He has, by his own admission, made choices around his marriage, around his image, around his public conduct, that hurt his children before they hurt anyone else. So for him, allegedly, to walk back into the center of that family with this much steadiness, this much intention, This much surgical clarity is not a small turn. It is a massive turn. And we should be honest enough to name a massive turn when we see one. That is also why I want to be careful with my words right now. I am not telling you ye is healed. I am not telling you ye is finished. I am not telling you the storm is over. Healing is not a single Tuesday. Healing is 100 Tuesdays in a row. So if this is the start of 100 Tuesdays in a row of the steady, hands-on, boundary-setting ye, then we have something real. If this is one good Tuesday before another bad one, then we have a moment, not a movement. And only time, honestly, will tell us which one we are looking at. So let us hold this story with both hands. Hopeful in one, cautious in the other. But I will say this, and I will say it loud. If everything inside this story is, even broadly, true, then Kim Kardashian and Kanye West are, right now, writing a chapter about co-parenting that very few celebrity couples ever get to write. They are showing, allegedly, that you can blow up the marriage and still protect the kids. They are showing, allegedly, that you can disagree on 100 things and still align on the one thing that matters. They are showing, allegedly, that even after the public mess, even after the tabloid years, even after the social media wars, two people can sit down at a table, in a room, with their staff, and quietly choose the children. And that, you guys, is rarer than people realize. That is rarer than people realize. So here is where I land, and I want you to land here with me. Allegedly, ye called the meeting. Allegedly, Kim said yes. Allegedly, the staff sat down. Allegedly, the rules changed. Allegedly, the children are safer tonight than they were last month. Allegedly, North has thicker layers under the short skirts. Allegedly, the boys are being raised as boys, on purpose, with intention. Allegedly, the partners around the children are being filtered with a sharper screen. Allegedly, the recitals are being attended without paparazzi. Allegedly, the co-parenting is humming. And allegedly, both Kim and Ye are, for the first time in a long time, looking at one another with respect instead of resentment. Allegedly. 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 But honey, if even half of this is real, then a new day really has dawned over that household. A quieter day. A steadier day. A day shaped less by tabloids and more by table talk. A day where the children, hopefully, get to feel both of their parents in the same room without bracing for impact. And that, regardless of how you feel about either one of them as celebrities, is what we should always root for when children are involved. Always. 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 So that is where I am leaving it tonight. We are going to keep our eyes open. We are going to keep our ears open. We are going to keep watching the small signals. The school drop-offs. The recital photos that never appear. The events without paparazzi. The interviews that never happen. The silence, honestly, will tell us more than any post ever could. Because if he, allegedly, is finally choosing the quiet path on purpose, then the absence of noise is not a void. It is, allegedly, the proof. And to the woman in the comments who is going to type that Kim is selfish for being out with Lewis Hamilton, I am going to say it one more time, with love. Let her live. Let her laugh. Let her have a Tuesday night. She has been carrying that house, with or without help, for a very long stretch. She is allowed to exhale. She is, allegedly, an excellent mother. Not a flawless mother. Not a traditional mother. Not a textbook mother. An excellent mother in her own design. And we should be mature enough as a culture to hold both of those truths at once. She is fully present at home, and she is fully alive in public. Both. At the same time. That is not a contradiction. That is a woman. And to the comment that is going to say he is faking this, that this is a phase, that this is a publicity reset, I am going to say this. Maybe. Maybe not. Time is the only honest judge in this room. But what I am not going to do is pretend that a calm meeting with the staff, allegedly, is somehow worse than a public meltdown on social media. We have asked this man, for years, to choose the quiet way. The boundaried way. The grown way. The fatherly way. So if, allegedly, he is finally choosing it, we do not get to clap with one hand. We clap with both. Even cautiously. Even carefully. We clap. Now I want to take you back, just for a moment, into the smaller, quieter detail of this entire story, because I think the smaller details are the ones that, honestly, tell the deepest truth. Allegedly, when he sat down across from that staff, he did not arrive empty-handed. He did not arrive with vibes. He did not arrive with a feeling. He arrived, allegedly, with a list. A real, written, line-by-line list of the corrections he wanted made. And that, you guys, is a wildly different posture than the one we have grown used to seeing from him. A list is preparation. A list is forethought. A list is somebody who sat in a quiet room, alone, with the weight of his own household pressing down on his shoulders, and decided that the next time he opened his mouth about it, he was going to open it with a plan. That, by itself, is a story worth pausing on. And then there is the way the meeting, allegedly, ended. It did not end with a slammed door. It did not end with a thrown phone. It did not end with a viral clip. It ended, allegedly, with handshakes. With a closing breath. With Kim, allegedly, walking him to the door. With the staff, allegedly, walking out of that room with crystal clarity about what their job actually is from this day forward. And that quiet ending, honey, is the loudest signal in the entire story. Because endings tell you what beginnings really were. A calm ending is the proof that the meeting was, at its core, about the children. Not the optics. Not the press. Not the leverage. The children. And that, allegedly, is the headline buried inside the headline. Let me also walk you through, briefly, why this protocol matters far beyond the Kardashian household. Because the truth is, what is allegedly being installed inside that home tonight is the same thing every parent of a creative, gifted, public-facing child should be installing inside their own. A clear, named adult standing 2 feet behind that child at every public event. A pre-agreed list of which artists, which producers, which collaborators are green-lit, and which are quietly red-lined. A wardrobe protocol that does not bend to the pressure of the moment. A publicity protocol that protects the small, ordinary memories of childhood from being mined for content. A relationship protocol that filters the adults walking into the family. A boys protocol, a girls protocol, a household protocol, a recital protocol. Boring, written, repeated, enforced. The kind of structure that, allegedly, sounds excessive on paper, until the day it is the only thing standing between your child and a story you will spend the rest of your life regretting. So even if you do not care one ounce about Yi, even if you do not care one ounce about Kim, the framework, allegedly, being put in place inside that house is a framework worth studying. Because famous or not, our children all live inside the same noisy world. And I want to circle, very briefly, to one more piece, because somebody in the comments is going to ask. What about North herself in all of this? How is she taking it? How is she feeling? And the honest answer is, we do not fully know. We are not in that house. We are not in that bedroom. We are not in that conversation. But what is being whispered, allegedly, is that North is not crushed by the new structure. North, allegedly, is responding to it. Because here is the thing about gifted children that most people do not understand. Gifted children do not actually want unlimited freedom. Gifted children want a strong, loving, intelligent boundary they can press against, so they can feel where the edges of the world are. Boundaries, when they come from love, do not feel like cages to a child. They feel like walls in a house. They feel like safety. They feel like proof that somebody, somewhere, is paying attention. And if Yi, allegedly, has just installed a fresh set of those walls inside North's life, then the result, in time, may not be rebellion. It may be relief. Quiet, unspoken, 10-year-old girl relief. And that, you guys, brings me to the very last piece I want to leave with you tonight. The piece I have been holding back on purpose, because I wanted to land on it. Allegedly, somewhere inside that meeting, he said something to Kim that nobody on staff was supposed to hear, but somebody on staff, allegedly, heard it anyway. And what he said, allegedly, was simple. He said, I am not going to lose them. I am not going to lose any of them. Not to the industry. Not to the internet. Not to the noise. Not to me. Not to you. Not to anybody. Allegedly. And whether or not he said it word for word the way it is being repeated, the spirit of it, honey, is what this entire story has been about from the first sentence. A father, allegedly, planting his feet. A mother, allegedly, finally standing next to him instead of across from him. A staff, allegedly, getting in line. And 4 children, somewhere in a hallway of that house, oblivious to all of it, hopefully laughing about something small. That, you guys, is the story. That is the heartbeat. That is the picture. Allegedly. Carefully. With every disclaimer exactly where it belongs. Now, before I let you go tonight, I want to leave you with one more layer, because I think it is the layer that is going to age the best as this story keeps unfolding in the weeks ahead. And that layer is this. Allegedly, this entire shift inside the household did not begin in that single meeting. It is being whispered, very quietly, that this shift began weeks earlier, in a phone call. A late-night phone call. The kind of call you do not make unless something inside of you has finally cracked open. Allegedly, you picked up the phone, dialed Kim directly, no team, no manager, no middle person, no assistant on the line, and asked her, simply, if they could talk. Not fight. Not argue. Not negotiate through lawyers. Talk. And on that call, allegedly, the two of them spoke for hours. About the children. About the years. About the version of themselves they used to be when the cameras were not rolling. About the version of themselves they wanted to become before the children grew up and stopped needing them. And by the time the call ended, allegedly, the meeting was already a foregone conclusion. The meeting was just the formal seal on a quieter agreement that had already been reached, alone, in the dark, on a phone line, between 2 people who used to be married and are now, slowly, learning how to be partners in a different shape. That, you guys, is the kind of detail you do not get to fabricate. That is the kind of detail that, if it is true, tells you something is genuinely shifting beneath the surface of this story. And here is what I want you to take with you, no matter where this story ends up 6 months from now. Allegedly, 2 adults sat down and chose, on purpose, to grow up at the same time. That is rare. That is hard. That is, honestly, miraculous. Most divorced couples never reach that moment. Most divorced couples spend the rest of their lives orbiting the same wound at a careful distance. And if Kim and Yi, allegedly, have actually closed the gap between them long enough to sit at one table and choose those 4 children together, then we are not watching a tabloid story tonight. We are watching, allegedly, a small, real act of grown adult love, told through the language of protocol, structure, and a list. And that, of all things, is what I am taking to bed with me tonight. So I will see you in the comments. I will see you in the next video. I will see you the next time the wind shifts on this story. And trust me, the wind on this story is going to keep shifting. Because the moment a man like Yi, allegedly, starts walking into rooms quietly instead of loudly, the entire ecosystem around him has to recalibrate. The press has to recalibrate. The handlers have to recalibrate. The hangers-on have to recalibrate. The internet has to recalibrate. And recalibration, honey, is always messy before it is clean. So buckle in. Stay close. Keep the volume on. Keep the bell on. Keep your eyes open. And we will, together, watch this chapter unfold one allegedly at a time. And remember, the loudest stories in this culture are almost never the most important ones. The most important ones, allegedly, happen in quiet rooms, behind closed doors, around small tables, with small voices, between 2 people who finally decided to stop bleeding on each other and start building for the children instead. That, of everything, is what tonight has been about. Hold it gently. Share it carefully. And come right back to me the next time the door cracks open. Peace, you guys. Real peace. The kind that holds. The kind a child can actually feel from across a quiet room. Peace, honey. Peace. Because at the very center of this story, underneath the names and the headlines and the tabloid froth, are 4 small humans. North. Saint. Chicago. Psalm. For children who did not ask to be born into the loudest household in the Western Hemisphere. For children who did not ask for cameras at their recitals. For children who did not ask for 1,000 strangers having opinions about their school choices, their hairstyles, their outfits, their stages, their friendships, their parents' romantic lives. For children who simply want, like every child wants, to be loved on purpose by both of the people who made them. And if, allegedly, the meeting that ye called is the first step toward giving those 4 children exactly that, then this story is not gossip. This story is a small, quiet miracle dressed up as a celebrity headline. So that, you guys, is the story as it stands tonight. Allegedly. Carefully. Responsibly. With every disclaimer in the right place. We are watching a possible turning point in real time. We are watching, allegedly, a father walk back into his household with both hands. We are watching, allegedly, a mother open the door for him to do it. We are watching, allegedly, a staff being asked to rise to a higher standard. We are watching, allegedly, for children be wrapped in a tighter, safer, more thoughtful net than they were under last season. And if it really holds, this might be the most important chapter Kim and ye have ever written together, and they are not even married anymore. So let me know in the comments where you stand. Do you believe the meeting happened the way it is being described? Do you believe he is on a real turn, or do you believe this is a moment that will pass like every other moment? Do you believe Kim is genuinely on board, or do you believe she is performing peace for the cameras? Do you believe the new protocols around North will actually hold, or do you believe the next big event will quietly break them? I want to hear it. The smart takes. The hot takes. The cautious takes. The hopeful takes. Drop them down below, because I am going to be sitting in those comments tonight, reading every single one of them, the way I always do. And before you go, do me one favor. If this story moved you, if this breakdown gave you something to think about, if you learned anything about the difference between a present father and an absent father, between a public mother and a private mother, between a marriage that ended and a co-parenting partnership that began, hit that subscribe button, hit that bell, and stay close. Because the next chapter of this story, whatever shape it takes, is going to be told right here. Calmly. Carefully. Responsibly. And with every allegedly exactly where it belongs. A new day, allegedly, has dawned for Kim and Yi. And honey, I, for one, am going to be watching every minute of it. Peace.